What's up, guys? This is Built by Fear, and today we have Josiah Willis, good friend of mine from weightlifting, getting into maturing in weightlifting and faith, building a gym with Wizard Athletics. Check out his merch too. We'll link that in the descriptions. But yeah, enjoy the episode. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Josiah, you got a lot of big things going on for you right now. You snatched 147. Let's go.
46.
146. I'm 57. My bad, bro. My bad. And then where's in athletics? So background for Josiah. What's your last name?
Willis.
Josiah Willis. We'll put your hand on there too. But Risen Athletics, met this guy back in the day. I want to say during COVID, back when you trained with Dave and training partners for a little bit during that time.
Yeah.
And you were you a super then?
Yeah.
Are you still super?
Yeah.
Technically? Okay.
Still super.
But super has that wide range. So you kind of cut now.
I'm still very much cemented in being a super. I'm still like, I went from like 310 to like now I'm hovering at like 282, 283. If I were to try and get down to like a heavyweight, like that 109 area, I'd probably be like 6 or 7% body fat. Like,
no, that'd be crazy. That'd be insane. And that's just like back in the day when I first started weightlifting and came from CrossFit and went into that like super me and Adrian just talking about this before, like aesthetic world of stuff, but I was unhealthy.
Yeah.
Like too lean at that time. So it's okay to have some fluff, bro. Fluff is great. But how long you been doing weightlifting, Josiah?
Let's see. I started in 2015. So I've been doing it for better part of, we'll call it 8 years.
8 years? Okay.
Yeah.
Has it been that long? That's actually 15. Has it been 8? That's 8 years?
Yeah. I think December it'll be 8.5.
No, it's wild. I feel like that is the general like number. You may get some outliers genetically in weightlifting for you, let's say, but all in all, it takes like 3 years to become consistent in the weightlifting sport to really compete. And then it takes like 5 to 8 to compete to a national level.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, like when I first started, I started off just picking it up in a CrossFit box. And I just, I watched John North's hit and catch drill to teach myself how to snatch. And then I watched Donnie Shankle is bigger than you to learn how to do a little bit of a clean. And I just mimicked them basically. And then I think at the time Greg was giving away like free pre-written programs on Catalyst Athletic.
Greg Everett.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just did one of those. And
so you went through the West Side barbell way of weightlifting.
Basically, yeah.
Because that's like, because you got the powerlifting, West Side barbell, brute strength, just break everything.
Yeah.
And then you got John North. That's the weightlifting version of it. I feel like he's still doing this thing too. Do you connect with John sometimes too, right?
Yeah, here and there.
Yeah.
We haven't talked to him in a while. Actually, one of his athletes just came by and trained with me yesterday. Alex, I'm gonna butcher his last name.
No, you're good.
We'll just call him Alex. Coach Alex on Instagram.
Nice. We'll take it.
But yes, he's a really strong kid. Like he came out and trained with me yesterday. I think his best numbers is like 180, 182 on clean and jerk.
Oh, I thought you said like what? Snatch.
And like 153 on snatch.
Really? What weight class?
Heavyweight.
Oh, no. He's a super too? Oh, okay. I'm trying to think who it's. Oh, I'm going to look. Did you post him on Instagram?
I tagged him, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have to check it out. Okay. So something I know we have in common is that not only do you do weightlifting, but I know for me, weightlifting and my faith has been so like tied together in a different way. That like, my competing, stuff like that. But the weightlifting became like almost a mental cave where I can just go in and just do my thing. And I guess, how has your faith and your weightlifting and training impacted your life? What would you say to that?
I would say it's kind of impacted me in a way that like, weightlifting is, for the most part, when I first started doing it, was a very positive influence. And then very quickly became like a negative one.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of realized that in the past couple of years. And what I wanted to do originally, like when I had picked it up, is like I wanted to pick it up and become really good at it as a way to show like people that I can and that I'm good enough, you know?
Right.
Like, you know, you're not strong, you're not this, you're not that. It was like, okay, well, I'll show you I am, you know, and prove them wrong in a sense.
Yep.
You know, so that's kind of why I had started it, was because of that reason. And like, I was good at it. Like when I started for real weightlifting, like I think I did 2 months of just teaching myself, and then I found a coach. And then 6 months after that, I went to junior nationals. And so that was kind of really like, oh, okay, well, I'm actually kind of good, you know. Obviously, junior nationals is a lot different than doing some senior nationals.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've been kind of,
That's a hard transition.
yeah, I've been in like a gray area, because I started weightlifting like when I was 17. So I didn't have much time as a junior.
Right.
And my coach at the time was very much like a technical driven coach, instead of more like strength and technique going hand in hand kind of a thing. So I didn't really progress quite as much as I could have. But that being said, my faith kind of took a back seat whenever I was first starting, because it was all kind of in my own vein, and like for my own glory, you know.
Right.
And then recently, it kind of came up to a point to where that became like obviously toxic, you know.
Right.
And my relationship with weightlifting became extremely bitter. And like I would hate going to the gym every day, but I would go to the gym every day anyways, and I would do what I could. And I would do my snatches, I do my clean and jerks. And like even when I was training by myself, when I'd left Dave, like, and I was training myself, like that was a good amount of time to kind of learn myself and learn who I am, how I train, how I process things and stuff like that. It was a good way to like learn all that type of stuff and kind of reconnect with myself. And then I met Marie, and she kind of brought a lot of all these other things out of me, to where I was like, you know, you don't train that hard. Like you don't really train that hard. You Clark a lot of your lifts. This is a really, like, you have this is a bad mindset. This is a bad mindset. And all this other kind of stuff. And it kind of got to a point to where like every single training session, I couldn't even snatch up past like 110 kilos at one point, and clean and jerk past like 130.
Without what?
Clarking it.
Okay.
Like,
What do you mean with clarking it? Can you define that?
Huh?
Can you define clarking
Oh.
it? Well, you just drive. You just kind of
I'd pull it up past my knee and put it on the ground.
got it.
Like
Sagging yourself out with it.
yeah, or even just budging it off the ground, and that's it.
Yeah.
And she had encouraged me to take some time off of weightlifting, which was like my first time taking time off of weightlifting in 7.5 years at the time. I think up until then, I had only taken maybe 2 days off.
Hey, I know how that is, bro. I know that grind.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll take the time off. And I took the time off, and that was really painful, because it was like I had sunk all my identity into training, into like, I am an Olympic lifter, you know, like this is who I am, this is what I do, that kind of thing. And it was kind of like God used that time to take that away from me, and then to put a hindrance in my life too. I had a thyroid problem at the same time. So it's like, it was almost as if he's like, not only am I going to make you hate the sport you love, I'm also going to take your strength away. And I was like, it was probably one of the worst parts of my life, was during that time. A lot of negative thoughts, a lot of negative cycles going on in my head and stuff. And Marie helped me get through it and stuff. And God used her in a lot of positive ways. And I went from, being able to pull 500 pounds for 5 reps on deadlifts without a belt, and then being able to like jerk 182 and back squat like 230 and, clean and jerk 165, snatch 137 at the time, to like, I can barely squat 140 kilos for one. I can barely pull 130 kilos off the ground. I can barely snatch 80. I can barely clean and jerk 100 because of the thyroid issue.
Right.
And like I had hyperthyroidism for a while, about 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
And my T3 normally is supposed to be in a range between, I think the range is like 2 to 4.5.
Mm.
And then mine was 8.9. And so it was double the range.
Got it.
And so my resting heart rate was 115.
Fight or flight, constant, huh?
Always, yeah.
Yep.
And so I would get winded super easily. Good news was it helped me with my cut. So that was a positive. But I feel like that time was a time when God really took everything away from me in terms of like my physical capabilities to kind of really force me to lean on him again.
Yep.
And during that time, I did like a lot of prayer and a lot of meditating and stuff like that. And just kind of wondering like, okay, well, what on God's earth am I supposed to do?
Yep.
Like, what am I here to do? Like, why did all this get taken away from me? Like, what do you want? You know, and obviously he wants a relationship, but at the same time, I feel like he was also kind of getting me to lean on him to prepare me for something.
Yeah.
And I started reading again, getting in the word and going to church more, taking Marie and the kids to church a little bit more. And been trying to do better about that now too, especially with everything with the gym going on. It can be kind of hard. Most weekends we end up just staying at home and putting it on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll send each other our devotionals we read in the morning, like, hey, I'm reading my devotional.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading my devotional too.
You're right.
And I'll miss it. But I think during that time when I really kind of got back into the word and everything, things kind of started to come to fruition without me even having to try. Like when I reworked my identity, I still struggle with that even today. Like I still find myself wanting to put my meaning in my lifting again and to really hold on tight to my pride and my ego and to really like, I have to make this happen. I have to do this. Otherwise I'm worthless, you know? But like when I snatched that 146, like I was distracted the whole time and I had let go. I had let go of all my expectation. I had let go of training. I'd let go of my perceived notion of what practice and weightlifting should be. I was just completely, in a positive way, disassociated. That's from an old mindset.
Yep.
And I had gone, and when I did that, everything happened.
Yeah.
It just clicked.
It's a flow.
It's a flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, you know, maybe the saying is true. Like if the harder you try, the worse you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, the more you, to equate it to something theological, it's like the harder you try to be perfect, the worse you're going to be. The less perfect you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the harder you try in the sport of weightlifting to be good, it's almost counterintuitive, the worse you're going to become, because now you have all these expectations built on yourself to where it's like, if I don't do this, I'm a piece of crap. You know, like I'm not worth anything.
Mm-hmm.
But
you know, it's so funny that you just kind of describe what you just described. And then you're asking me, the first thing you asked me is, before we walked in, and what we started with was the podcast and all that. What really led to this podcast, you know, also in the last like 3 to 4, 5 years, I kind of had these little cycles of very much the same thing you just described.
Mm.
And that's why I like intentionally try to take a break away from weightlifting. But this past go around was probably the worst.
Yeah.
So a little bit of vulnerability here. And I try to word it in a way that, of course, is not too vulnerable. So I'll make sure I respect lines. But July comes about, getting ready to go to Nationals. 2 weeks before Nationals, I stopped taking this medicine that was helping with my anxiety and my depression. I got on this in November of the previous year, so 2022, and it was great. It made a huge difference in my life. Stopped taking it, and it was like my brain got set on fire. Talking about fight or flight. Bro, it was insane. Talking about losing weight. I lost so much weight in like a little week. Got super sick. Went to Nationals, bombed my snatch, made my last clean and jerk.
Dang.
And, you know, I was fine with it, and I'm still fine with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so bad, I went to the gym that Thursday before Nationals, couldn't pick up a bar. couldn't lift the bar. The room was spinning.
Mm.
So it's kind of like that same thing where it's just like, all right, I didn't think I was putting my identity in weightlifting, but I think I low key was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, hey son, that's not where your identity is.
Mm-hmm.
Identity is in this. My job now is to glorify God, right? And in whatever I do, whether that's me weightlifting or me doing this or whatever it is really whether I eat or drink or whether you eat or drink, right? Do for the Lord God.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have a great opportunity because you got a gym going and the name in the gym is just absolute fire. I saw you pull out the shirt. I'm going to link that shirt to this podcast.
Yeah.
Right. We'll put that in there. We'll share it and everything, but it's Risen Athletics. When did you come up with that name, Risen Athletics? Where did that come from?
So that kind of ties into the story I was saying a little bit ago. Where like during that time of deconstruction, I mentioned I feel like God was preparing me for something. I feel like that was it. Was the gym.
Yeah.
And the team and everything we have going now. And like at the time I was working in IT, and because I was like, well, I mean, I'm not going to sell mattresses. That doesn't work. I tried to sell roofing at one point. That went horribly. I sold cars for 4 hours. That was a while back. I remember telling I was like, no, okay, I guess I'm not a sales guy. And especially if it's sales that I just do not care about. You know, it's like, oh, what bed should I get?
Before you keep, it's funny because I think we're very much alike because I've seen you interact with people. You're a people person for sure.
Yep.
I'm a people person too, but I'm bad at sales because I'm a people person.
Yeah.
Because someone's like, hey, I don't think I'm interested. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's what gets me in hot water too, is like Maria will be like, I'll be talking to somebody and they'll be like, I don't know. I'll talk to you guys later. All right, sick. And then she'll be like, did you ask them to join? I was like, what? And they'll be like, Joe, how many times do I have to? I'm like, oh, right. I mean, I can text him. It's probably not too late.
It's hard, bro. And it's a process.
Yeah.
You know, I worked at Grindhouse and Strong Body. It's a process. You'll get a hang of it as you go.
It really is.
That's funny.
It really is. And like, it really is a process getting everything kind of to like come together and stuff. Cause like when I had started it, I was in IT, and the gym that Marie and I were going to, had been open since before I had started weightlifting. And it was actually the first gym that I had joined to learn weightlifting.
What was this? Is that Rising?
It was Uproar Weightlifting for a while, and then it became Uproar Athletics and Wellness.
Okay.
And it was open all the way up until March. And then it ended up closing down. And I was like, dang it. I'm not going to be able to train here anymore. Like, we're not going to be able to train here anymore. Like the kids, it was a great situation. Like the kids could kind of go upstairs, hang out, or go to the, like, well, now they go to the office, but they would go upstairs and hang out, or they'd be just kind of around doing whatever, like throwing the ball or something like that. They could kind of do whatever. And we had all the equipment we needed. We had some platforms or some semblance of platforms or some open space to be able to lift kilo plates and blocks and stuff. And now it's closed. And it's like, what am I going to do? Go to a CrossFit box or 24 or Villa or whatever? I'm like, I mean, I can't train in my parents' garage. 'Cause at the time I was living with my parents still. I was like, well, I don't really know quite like what to do. And so some time had kind of passed and stuff. And then I ended up finding out that it was, all the equipment was up for sale, and including the building, the lease was up for sale too. Like,
so where Risen Athletics is where
Opera was too.
Did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the lady who was dealing with like the sale of the estate or whatever was like selling it all as a package, like a gym in a box, basically.
Right.
And I was like, well, I don't have like $60,000 or whatever to put down on a gym. And this guy, Daniel, who's a pastor friend of ours, Maria and I's, he was like, hey, did you hear like that stuff's up for sale? I was like, I did not. And he goes, you should, my friend over here at like this business was like thinking about buying it, and, or like was looking for like something to invest in or something like that. So you're like, you should write a business plan and present it to him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll write a business plan and I'll have my friend over here present it and run it, because I'm not going to be able to do that. Like, I had like no faith in myself that I could do it. Like, is basically all I studied was like business and business books and like the E-Myth and Gary V's Crush It books, a bunch of others. And so it was like I had like a decent awareness of what it took. And like I had some decent kind of scaffolding under me, but I was like, I think he'd be better at it.
Yeah.
But I'll write it anyways. So I'm writing the gist out for this, and it took me like a week to put it together because I was having to write it in between calls during my work hours, and then on my days off, I was writing it and researching and market research and stuff and all different types of stuff building this out. And I found out that this guy had a different vision in mind. Like, it wasn't exactly what our friend had been told. He was kind of wanting to make it more of the same business that he already had owned. And I was like, that doesn't fly with like what I want, what I'm kind of seeing. So I was like, well, that kind of shot itself in the foot. And I talked to the lady who was selling it, and I was like, do you think you might want to like go into a partnership or something? She's like, no, I want to leave. I'm going to leave the state and then retire and drink wine till the day I die. I was like, okay, never mind that. And I'm kind of running out of ideas and options, and you know, the deadline was almost there to where it was like, I'm just going to start selling off stuff. People don't pick this up. And I'm sitting there. I have a family size bag of popcorn in front of me, and Marie's sitting next to me, and we're about to watch Shazam. And I'm sitting there, I'm just stuffing my face full of popcorn. And she goes, do you think Arthur was serious about his offer? Arthur is her employer, and he had made a offhand comment like a bunch of months ago, like maybe 8 or 9 months ago, because she had sent some videos of her lifting to a group chat that they have, like, hey, show us some of your training that you do. So she sent it to him, and he's like, oh my God, that gym looks great. Is it up for sale? Ha ha ha.
Good looking gym.
Yeah. And she's like, no, it's not up for sale, blah, blah, blah. And so she was like, do you think he was serious? I was like, there's no way he was serious. She goes, yeah. She goes, well, do you want to ask him? Like, should we ask him? And I was like, yeah, let's definitely ask him. It's worth pulling that string. I don't think it's going to happen, but yeah, shoot him a text. And, yeah. And so like, I'm sitting there eating popcorn and the movie's about to start, and then her phone pings and she's like, he says he was dead serious. What do we know? And I was like, what? Yeah. Like choking a little bit. I was like, okay. Give him my information. We'll call him after the movie, and I'll give him the download and everything. So
how long after until you got?
So that happened on a Friday. That happened on a Friday night because we were out there seeing the movie. I called him on the way out, sent him my business plan, sent him the lady's information on a Friday. He called her up that following Saturday, I believe, and said he called her up on that following Saturday, and then that Tuesday he had reached out and was like, hey, send me your business plan. I forgot, I didn't send him my business plan. I sent him my business plan on that Tuesday, and then he lets us know on Thursday, or maybe it was Wednesday, hey, we're meeting this lady at the gym to check it out on Saturday. Do you guys want to sit down and get dinner?
It's like 2 weeks.
This was the following week.
Okay. So about a week.
Yeah. So it was like a week later. They're out there on Saturday. They look at the property. We go to dinner, and it's basically like a, hey, what is your business plan? Like,
right.
It was basically an interview. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm telling him all my plans, my experiences and everything like that. And he goes, all right, cool. Yeah. Cause we'd need someone to run it, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And, so that Saturday happens. That following Tuesday, they make an offer. That Thursday they accept it. And then we have the paper signed, keys in hand that following Sunday.
Yeah.
So it was like a 2-week turnaround.
That ain't nothing but the Lord, bro.
Yeah.
That's the Lord.
You want to know something cool?
What?
I had came up with the name Risen Athletics during my writing process for the business plan. And then I was like, I want it to be a play on like our faith because we're all Christians. And then I also want it to be a play on training because,
Right.
the weights rise up, Christ has risen.
Amen.
And I wanted it to be those two things coming together as like a symbol of like, you can't just be one, like you can't be super spiritual without the physical component. Like you have to be strong mentally, physically, and spiritually kind of thing. So bringing it all together. And the funny thing is the day we got the keys in our hands was Easter weekend.
Nice.
Yeah. My friend pointed that out to me. He goes, bro, you got the gym on Easter weekend? I was like, I did not.
Sorry. So the more way, God can just kind of like tap you on your shoulder a little bit,
Yeah.
Just like, hey.
I was like, I did not know that, dude.
Well, it's funny because similar thing happened with Built by Fear. The original name was not Built by Fear. Built by Fear came after I became really convinced, like, hey, I think the fear of God is what really has changed me thus far. I'm still going to use the other name. I'm like, I guess I could tell you what it is. Prime expectation. That's down the line. That may be something a little bit more future when it comes down to like maybe training or lifting. But yeah, man, it's crazy how the Lord works in these little mysterious ways, but not mysterious because then he shows you.
Yeah.
What is crazy is wild.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about like kind of like the trials of weightlifting and balance, right? We all struggle with it. And then now you got your weightlifting stuff with Risen Athletics. Yeah. Did you by chance get to watch The Champ yet? Which is Hampton Moore's little documentary?
I started it. I think I got like 2 or 3 minutes into it, and I was watching it, and I was like, I'm going to save this.
Save it.
I kind of want to save it and watch it because I know it seemed really interesting and stuff, and I wanted Marie and I to watch it. So I was like...
Very interesting. I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay.
But it's a lot of what we're talking about now.
Really?
Made me want to pray for the kid. So
yeah,
just pray for Hampton Morris, man. We're praying for you, bro.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because, I feel like weightlifting for me just, I won't say exposes things, but life is a constant trial.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is going to kind of come at you and test you in little ways. Weightlifting is pretty much the same thing. Every time you walk to the bar, it's a little bit of a quality test about where you're at, like you said, mentally, physically, spiritually.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about consistently training. Now, what I want to preface there with this is that, don't train with this identity of, if I didn't succeed. Training with this, I want to just be as consistent as possible for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And that made a big difference personally for my training because I know what you're talking about. I couldn't imagine snatching 146 right now. No.
Yeah.
I'm good. Not today, at least.
Yeah.
Like my CNS is just buzzing.
Yeah.
I did some muscle squat snatches today at 100 kilos. That's all I got.
That's all I got.
I did some power things. So we got to gear it back up, but it's a forever pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I often talk about like how this is based on like how God has influenced you. We didn't get too much into it, but how did like growing up and your childhood, I know we've talked about that before in the past, like create this person who wants to train and have a life of training and hopefully encouraging other people to train?
So that my life growing up was like, it was good, but it still obviously had its moments. A lot more moments than I would have liked. Without, being disrespectful, or putting too much out there.
Understand. Yeah.
Like, I basically kind of grew up with, because of my life growing up, I kind of grew up with like this like demon on my shoulder or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I became a very angry and anxious person. One from each parent, kind of coming together to make myself. Because growing up, my My pops was a very angry person, and my mom was hyper paranoid. And dad's been doing a lot better, and mom is still working on it and stuff. And like, those two kind of coming together don't quite mix well when it comes to like how you process information. So basically, those two things kind of coming together, and then going into school and into junior high and high school and stuff like that, I got bullied a lot. And I started puberty a little early when I was like around 5th grade, I think, was when my hormones were starting to kind of kick in some. And I was too fat at the time to where my hormones, androgenic hormones, could come up like optimally, right? Yep. So I was very estrogenic. I aromatized a lot. Ooh. So I ended up developing really bad like gynecomastia, and it got so bad to the point to where it was like, you know, kids were basically making fun of me every day. Like I came in to school, like I was still a really big kid and stuff, and like people thought that they could mess with me and stuff like that, and you know, make remarks and stuff, you know. And that type of torment, like I was extremely like angry all the time, but at the same time I was anxious about lashing out, to where like I didn't want to hurt anybody, because at the same time like those two things fight, and then my kind nature kind of comes in the middle, you know, to where it's like, I want to beat the living crap out of this person. Maybe don't do that. That might not be the best idea. Like this might happen. Or, yeah. And then the inner, like the kind part of me is like, just let it be for now. Like it's not the time yet. And obviously, you know, I put some people in their place eventually when it got too much. But after that year of that, when it got the worst was in 6th grade, and then I ended up making the decision to get surgery for it. So I got it removed, and that changed everything. And then I got into athletics when I was in 7th grade, just because like my dad had made me. He's like, well, if you're going to play video games, you got to move your body a little bit at least. I was like, okay, that's fine. I don't care. As long as I can play Call of Duty. You're right. And I was like, that's cool. So I did some high school athletics, and then it's still like the bullying stuff still kind of persisted even through there. Not because of the way I looked, but because like, you know, I was fat or weak or slow or whatever. And that persisted in through like 8th grade. And I started to get stronger and stronger. And I had started to put more time and effort into learning how to be better. Yeah. Because I was like, well, if all these people say that like, you know, I'm weak and pathetic and I don't try and I'm a quitter and all this other stuff, like I'm going to prove them wrong basically, you know? And it was kind of like that anger kind of coming up inside of me of like, you know, like, screw you, I'm going to show you who I am. Prove the world. Yeah. And anytime like I would start doing full cleans, like with a flat back, ass to grass squats, full range of motion stuff, really trying to push myself as hard as I could, even after having rehabbed a knee injury. I had dislocated my kneecap playing football like that prior season, like in 8th grade. So it was like I injured it around September time. And then it was healed up by like January-ish. And then I could finally start training like during the latter parts of the summer. And I had gotten maybe 2 months of real training in when it was finally able to like move. And like the coaches even thought that I was like pitiful or whatever. You could see it in their expressions and how they talked to me. And I would do things harder to make it, to show that like, oh, I'm going to do this the hard way, you know, because I'm strong.
You know, what's interesting is like a lot of times we talk about like fight or flight and how to train and the mental stuff of training and all that. Weightlifting has a really good opportunity to train that stuff.
Yeah.
right? And it's really about intentional practice and different things like that. And it's so interesting because the older you get, you start to learn how to use that. I want to say like the exact same story, but when I was a kid, I was very similar to you as far as like just overweight. Man, my diet, my nutrition was terrible. I mean, I grew up, we just ate a whole bunch of food. I lived off of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Oreos.
Yep.
And I was the same way. I was chunky. I wish I could show you a picture at a little triple chin. Man, it was real. Remember my cousin looked at me one day, said, "You always gonna be fat." I never forget that. I was like, okay, all right, remember this conversation. So I relate so much, Liam. Like my brother, I love you, Marv, but man, he whooped my butt as a kid. Like knots upside my head and just made me like I want to fight everybody, but I was too scared to fight everybody.
Yep.
I wanted to be that nice kid. That's not what you're supposed to do. So it's interesting how you grow up and then that's like now you got this choice. And I feel like it gives you opportunity now to where you could be wise and when to turn that on.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like you could turn that fight or flight when you need to for 150 clean and jerk or 180 clean and jerk, 150 snatch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And like that old mindset was something I'm still trying to like get rid of and put it on more positive shoulders, you know? Cause like the anger and paranoia and anxiousness like really came out like in my relationship. I think when I had first met Marie and like, you know, we had met literally by, not even by, I don't want to say by circumstance, but by like, I say divine circumstance. Like I was at a point in my life where I was just like, just so alone. And I was just like, I just want somebody. Like, give me, like, God, just give me somebody to care for and to love the best I can, you know? And I was like, I know I'm ready. Like, that's all I want. I don't care. Give me my person, you know? And I was on my way to the gym to train, and then I got into a car accident. And it was very minor. I just had like a little bit of a...
Was it injury?
No.
Okay, I had to say.
No, I got into a car accident, and then I pulled over to the side of the road. It was just a little fender bender, basically, nothing crazy. And I get out of the car, and I had noticed that there was this gym in the area, Magnolia CrossFit had a weightlifting club over there for a while. And I didn't know about that until like I saw it on Instagram. I was like, oh snap, there's a barbell club over here. And I was getting tired of training at the gym I was training at. I was like, well, I'm gonna go over there and check it out. And then like I do, like I feel like I have some type of undiagnosed ADD, ADHD, or like some kind of anxiety disorder or something. Cause like, I'm like, I'm going to do that. And then I get distracted with other stuff and then it just gets buried really quick. And it's like, I don't mean for that to happen. That's just how it happens, you know? And I get out of the car and this guy's wearing a CrossFit Magnolia t-shirt. I was like, oh yeah, I should go over there to that gym. And he's like, oh, it's totally my fault, dude. I'm so sorry, blah, 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 and this and that. And I was like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Did you record him saying that? So for insurance purposes, keep going.
No, he was a good guy. And I ended up going and checking that gym out. And Marie was there the first day. And I remember seeing her. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like, this woman is insanely gorgeous, you know? And we had, that was still at a time when I'm still super awkward as a person. And she gives me crap about it, the way that I had approached her the first time, all the time. We laughed about it a lot. And the first thing I had said to her, like when she was over there, like coaching or something like that, because there was a lot of families and kids and stuff over there. And I walked up and was like, yeah. And I was like, so you train here much? She was like, yeah. I was like, cool. You and your husband train here? And she was like, no. And then walked away. I was like, damn it. I sprayed it up. Like, she's never going to talk to me again. What was that? Oh my God. And I was just sitting there beating myself up about it a little bit. And I was like, I was so dumb. Why did I say that? But lo and behold, she ends up like following me on Instagram. We start talking a little bit. We start training. And I was like, I guess I did mess things up because, I mean, she's talking to me here. But yeah, come to find out that that dude who got me into that car accident was her best guy friend at the time. And she had driven past us on the road and like was like, oh my God, Henry, are you okay? This thing. He's like, yeah, it's my fault, this and that. And I was like, that's kind of crazy that was your friend that put me into a car accident who was wearing that shirt that made me go to that gym. Respawn the idea.
It's a little thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, dude, it was really crazy.
How old are you now, Josiah?
25.
You're 25? I met you when you're probably like 21. 22?
22, I think.
Something like that. I tell you this, there's been such a wild growth in your maturity, how God has built you as a man and is continuously building you, right? And one thing is I love about life is that what we get to see in the present is this partial picture of who we are, although we expect a complete one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it was awesome because as you grow and you mature, you start to get a fuller image of what you really look like in Christ.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how the Lord is going to use you in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years to glorify his name. So with that being said, Built by Fear is a podcast about passion and where does that come from? Where does your passion come from now and what drives you?
I would say after having gone through everything that I have in the past year especially, year and a half, and everything that Marie and I have been through and kind of fought through and stuff, it's kind of led me down to like a new place. And I feel like what drives me now, rather than it being this vain pursuit of like, you know, I'm going to be better than these people say I am. I'm going to prove these people wrong, you know. I feel like now especially with the gym, the reason why I train now and the reason why I do the gym now and why I do my own personal growth and stuff is because I feel like it's been put on my heart to try and be a leader and a teacher. And I was praying a lot one time, and that was like a word that I had gotten was like a teacher and like a leader, you know. And God had told me, you know, he's going to use these circumstances now and in the next coming time to drive me into this person that I'm supposed to become.
Correct.
And that I'm supposed to, like, he's going to forge me into like this leader, you know. And what I want to do is I want to, through my strength, not just do weightlifting for my own vanity and my own selfish interests, but I want to inspire.
Yeah.
And I want to show not only who I feel like are my kids now, you know, like Marie's kids, I almost adopted them as like my own.
Ooh.
Like I want to inspire them and to show them like he's a strong, capable man, you know. And I want to show not only them, I want to show all the boys and the young bucks that come into the gym what a strong, capable leader looks like.
Right.
And not only just the people that I see face to face, but God willing, if our presence can grow online and stuff, and we can, like, my strength continues to grow, I want to even show that on like as big of a stage as God will give me.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's state, whether it's a local meet,
right,
whether it's the Olympics, I don't care. I just want to continue to get better and get stronger, and to see how strong I can get, and to see basically like
just your potential.
Yeah, to see like
wherever it goes.
Yeah, to see like what my potential is, but to also show that like you could be going through the worst time of your life, but as long as, number one, you take everything to Christ first, you stay disciplined and you keep doing it no matter how bad you feel, and you just keep continuing to push forward and to continue to develop yourself mentally, spiritually, physically, despite whether you think anything is wrong with you or not,
Right.
you're going to continue to just ramp up like that, you know?
I feel like a huge component of that is like consistent and like true self-analysis in a non-toxic way.
Yeah.
So I think I've been that way before, and I try to make sure like, hey, I can do a self-analysis that is non-emotional. Like I'm not beating myself up. I can look at my lips and be like, hey, I did X, Y, and Z. Let's do X, Y, and Z instead.
Yeah.
And that's really the basis of it. Now, I'm flushing this out too, because I was convicted in this, kind of like you're saying, you're praying and God's kind of giving me this idea. It's like, what is a man now? Right.
Yeah.
And that's a big question. 2023, we got this whole convoluted argument about this. And of course, I want to remain respectful, but also true. Right. We have this poor image on both sides, right? In America, where we got this maybe very masculine, overly masculine, almost toxic type man thing. And you got this other one that's emasculated and not very much what a man should be. But I think neither one of those are correct.
No.
There is a image of a man that is heaven sent, that we see in Christ, that I think that we are supposed to pursue, that looks completely different than the image of what a worldly man will look like.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we should be pursuing. And as we train, as we lift, as we glorify God, we get there, all by His grace. Hey, bro, I'm glad you came through the show.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Hey, thanks for coming out, man. Absolutely, man. This has been Built by Fear. Josiah Willis. Thanks for joining us, bro.
Of course.
Cut.